Good morning friends, welcome to Energy Engineering classes. I am V. Sushant Kumar, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Angdi Institute of Technology and Management, Belagavi. In today's class, we will discuss about diesel power plant. This is second video lecture on this diesel power plant. So in the first video lecture, we discussed about scenario of diesel power plants in India and application of diesel power plants. And we discussed about general layout of diesel power plant and what all it contains, and at last we discussed about methods of starting diesel power plant. In today's class we'll discuss about in detail about the cooling system of diesel power plant. All the IC engines require the cooling system for its smooth operation. The IC engine can be of any size, the engine from the scooter to the power plant. All of them require a cooling system. It can vary, the type of cooling system varies, which we will discuss now, but all the IC engine requires the cooling system. The charges in the combustion chamber, when they undergo the combustion, the temperature of the gases can reach as high as 2750 degrees Celsius. So if such a huge amount of temperature, if it is just allowed without any cooling, then it is transferred to the neighboring mechanical parts, and these parts like cylinder walls, cylinder, piston, they tend to assume the average temperature of the gases, maybe around 1000 to 1500 degree Celsius. If there is no cooling with such a high temperature, these parts will lose their characteristics and they expand and will result in engine seize. We know theoretically that efficiency of engine is improved without cooling, but at the cost of engine seize. So the cooling system is a must for an engine to maintain the temperature below the risk level. So whatever heat is generated inside the engine cylinder, it is allowed to be carried away by the cooling system. Though the efficiency will reduce, but the cooling system is a must for an engine to operate smoothly. So why the cooling system is required for an engine? So I have listed few points here. First one, the even expansion of piston in the cylinder may result in seizure of the piston. So if there is no cooling system, as I told you, when the combustion takes place, the temperature of gases will be very high, and this heat, if it is transferred to the piston will expand and it will result in engine seize. From the previous slide you can see the pictures when the engine seizes, so the marks on the piston, how it looks. And second one, high temperature reduces the strength of the piston and liner. That's what we discussed in the previous slide. So when there is a very high temperature, it will alter the characteristics of the parts like piston, liner, cylinder walls. And third one, overheated cylinder may lead to pre-ignition of the charge. if there is no cooling system, so when the combustion takes place, that heat is transferred to the cylinder walls and its temperature will assume some average temperature. So when the cylinder wall is at very high temperature, and if the charge is introduced, charge in case of diesel engine, if the diesel, when the diesel is introduced into the combustion chamber, since the temperature is high, there are chances that pre-ignition, means ignition of the diesel taking place before compression. Okay, so that we call it as pre-ignition. So when the pre-ignition takes place, it leads to stresses develops at parts of the engine, and ultimately it results to the failure of the engine. And the last one is physical and chemical changes may occur in the lubricating oil, which may cause sticking of piston rings and excessive wear of the cylinder. So when there is a huge temperature between the piston and the cylinder wall, we have piston rings, so which contains oil for the smooth operation and lubrication. So when there is a high temperature, so the physical and chemical changes in that oil takes place, and it causes the wear and tear of the engine cylinder piston rings. Next, so what are the methods of IC engine cooling? Basically we have two types. One is the air cooling and second one is the liquid cooling. This air cooling is for the small engines like our two-wheelers. In case of two-wheelers, 100cc, 200cc, so we use air cooled engines. Even in two-wheelers, the higher cc engines, they have oil cool. Okay. And second category is liquid cooling. So liquid cooling can be oil or it can be water. Okay, oil cooling and water cooling. Some of the two-wheeler engines, okay, they use oil cooling. Okay, and heavy engines like in four-wheelers and trucks and diesel engine power plants, we use water cooling. So again in water cooling we have two types. One is thermosiphon cooling and second one is forced or the pump cooling. We'll discuss in detail about all this. What is thermosiphon cooling, how it functions, very important. And next, forced cooling. In forced cooling we have again three types. One is the single circuit cooling system and the second one is double circuit, or it is also called as closed circuit cooling system, and third one is a thermostat cooling system. So in the following slides we are going to discuss about all these cooling systems. Air cooling system. This air cooling system, it is useful for small size engines, the engines that are used in our scooters and motorcycles. Apart from the engine, on the surface of the cylinder head and the cylinder barrel, we have extruded surface which we call them as fins. We can see from the sketch, these are nothing but fins, extended surface. Okay, these are the extended surface which are at right angles to the cylinder. Okay, so these fins will help us in increasing the surface area so that radiation takes place at faster rate. So this is how the air cooling system works. You must have seen your two-wheeler engines. You find the extended surface fins over the engine. So when the air passes over these fins, heat is transferred from the fins to the air, thereby cooling the engine. This is air cooling is useful for small size engines. Let's look at advantages and disadvantages of air cooled IC engine. First, let us see the advantages. It has a simple design because there are no radiators, no cooling pipes. So basically design is simple, and there is also no danger of coolant leakage. As we are not using the coolant, it is just air cooled, so there is no problem of coolant leakage. The weight per brake power of the air cooled engine is less than that of water cooled engine. So when we are not using any coolant, so the weight is less, and installation of air cooled engine is easier. So these are the advantages. Now let's look at the disadvantages of air cooling in IC engine. So this engine, air cooled engines are slightly more noisier. They produce more noise. And one of the important points here is there is no uniform cooling throughout the engine. And output of air cooled engine is less than that of a liquid cooled engine. And we prefer this air cooled engine for small compression ratio. If you are going for high compression ratio, then we don't prefer air cooled engines. The next topic is liquid cooling. So previously we discussed about air cooling, and second one is liquid cooling. So in liquid cooling, cylinder walls heads are provided with jackets through which the cooling liquid can circulate, and heat is transferred from these parts to the coolant by convection and conduction. So you can also see the sketch. I have just put the sketch so that you understand how the cooling works. So we have a radiator here. The hot water enters the radiator from the top. As it comes down, the air flows over here, and we also have the radiator fan. The temperature of the water reduces, and this water, cooled water, again it is circulated back to the engine, and it absorbs the heat, and again it comes down. So this is how the water cooled engine works. So now we have again different types in this. So basically liquid cooling, we have again two types, oil cooling and water cooling. In water cooling we have again thermosiphon cooling and forced or pump cooling. So first we will discuss about the thermosiphon cooling system, how it works. Now let us discuss about the thermosiphon cooling system. So you can see from the sketch the thermosiphon cooling system. So it has a radiator and a fan. The top portion of radiator is connected to the top portion of the engine, okay, and the bottom portion of the radiator is connected to the bottom portion of the engine water jacket. So the water, cooled water enters the engine from the bottom water jacket, and as it circulates through the engine, it absorbs the heat from the engine parts and its temperature increases, and it leaves the engine from the top water jacket, and further it enters into the radiator. So air passes over the radiator. So when the vehicle is moving, the air passes over the radiator, as well as we also have the radiator fan. As the hot water it comes down, so since air is moving over the radiator, the water cools down. So this is a simple working mechanism of a thermosiphon cooling. We are not using any pumps here. It's purely circulation of hot and cold water based on density difference. It is simple. The construction of these kinds of engine with the thermosiphon cooling system. It is simple. It is automatic, and it operates without any water pump. But it also has few disadvantages. Cooling depends only on temperature and is independent of engine speed. So there is no relation between engine speed and cooling. So whereas in modern engines we have pumps which circulates the coolant based on the engine speed. Then rate of circulation is slow and it is insufficient, and circulation of water starts only after the engine has become hot enough to cause the thermosiphon action. Initially when the engine starts, there is no temperature difference in the coolant, so there is no circulation. As I told you, it's a natural circulation due to the density differences. We know that the density of hot water is lighter. Okay, so when there is a temperature difference, then the circulation starts. This system requires that the radiator to be above the engine for gravity flow of water to the engine. Since we are not using any pump here, the radiator has to be placed slightly above the engine so that the water flows under the gravitational effect. This is about a thermosiphon cooling system. The next type of cooling system under water cooling is forced or pump cooling system. So in forced or pump cooling system, as the name says, we are circulating the cooling water using the pump. We can see from the sketch, we have the engine here. So the hot water from the engine is collected in a tank. This hot water is sent to the a cooling pond or a cooling tower. Okay, so where the water heat from the water is transferred to the air, and water is cooled. Basically in cooling pond or in cooling tower, water is cooled. This cooled water, again it is circulated back to the overhead tank. So from the tank, again it is sent to the engine. So this is how basically forced or pump cooling system works in an diesel power plant. So in the following slides, so we will discuss in detail about the single circuit and double circuit and also thermostat cooling system. So under water cooling, we were discussing about forced or pump cooling system. Under forced or pump cooling system, again we have three types. In that, the first one is single circuit or open circuit cooling system. So basically it is simple. You can see from the sketch, the hot water that comes out of the engine, directly it is transferred to the cooling pond or cooling tower, where it is cooled, and again it is pumped back to the engine. Okay, it is pumped back to the engine. So it is a simple single circuit. Okay, that's why we call it a single circuit cooling system. It is simple and economical, but the disadvantage of using this type of cooling system is it leads to the corrosion of cylinder jackets. Since water is exposed to atmosphere, and again the same water is, we are circulating, so there are chances of the corrosion in cylinder jackets. Here we'll discuss about double circuit cooling system. You can see from the sketch, the water that circulates in the engine, the cooling water that circulates in the engine will not come in contact with the atmosphere. Okay, so this is one circuit. Okay, and this is second circuit. That's why we call it as double circuit. So you can see the heat exchanger here. Okay, the function of heat exchanger is to transfer the heat from the hot fluid to the cold fluid. Okay, so here the water that is circulating in the engine, the cooling water, will not come in contact with the atmosphere. So the hot water that comes out of engine, okay, as it passes through the heat exchanger, we are also passing the cold water. So this cold water will absorb the heat from the hot water. Okay, so the water that comes out here will be cooled, and it is again pumped back to the engine. So basically here water is circulating, okay, in a closed pipe. Okay, and in the second circuit, the water that enters the heat exchanger will absorb the hot water and it comes out, and later it is transferred to the cooling pond, and again it is pumped back. So here in closed circuit, purified water does not harm the engine jackets, whereas in the single circuit in the previous slide, the cooling water harms the cylinder jackets and it leads to the corrosion. But designing of such kind of system is complex and it is expensive. So the last topic in cooling system is thermostat cooling system. So it is a type of water cooling system and it is a forced cooling system. So when the cylinder barrel temperature falls too low, okay, it results in severe corrosion and damage due to condensation of acids on the barrel walls. So for that, to avoid this, we use device called as thermostat. You can see here. So thermostat, it is nothing but it's a temperature controlling device. So to avoid the very low temperature of engine jackets, okay, and so what it does, based on the design temperature, so when the temperature of the cooling jacket engine falls below that, okay, it restricts the flow of coolant, thereby increasing the engine temperature. Okay, so that is the main function of thermostat cooling temperature, means it maintains the temperature of the engine barrels, okay, parts above preset temperature. It doesn't allow that temperature to fall down, okay, which results in adverse effect. Okay, apart from this, the working is all similar. As we discussed, hot water enters the radiator from the top. As it comes down, it is cooled, and again the cold water enters the engine from the bottom jacket. We also have the radiator fan. Apart from this, everything is same, function is same, except we have a thermostat here which controls the temperature, which controls the flow of coolant, thereby controlling the temperature. We are at the end of today's video class. I'll just recall the topics that we discussed. So mainly we discussed methods of cooling IC engine. We have two main methods. One is the air cooling and second one is the liquid cooling. In liquid cooling, again we have two types. One is the water cooling and second one is the oil cooling. In water cooling, we have a thermosiphon cooling and a forced or pump cooling. In thermosiphon cooling, we are not using any pump. The circulation of water is natural, whereas in forced cooling we use the pump. So here we have single circuit cooling, double circuit cooling and a thermostat cooling. So these are the topics that we discussed in today's class. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can always contact me, and thank you for watching the video.